with John and Tom stand tall, discussing corruption, answering the call. Osceola's whispers, the truth we unveil. With each podcast episode we set sail. Unsanctioned voices, we won't be ignored. Digging through lies, we strike a chord. Unsanctioned truth, we're here for the fight. John and Tom shining through the night. With every debate, we're raising the stakes, taking down villains for justice's sake. Politicians trembling, they know we're awake. With facts on our side, we're here to shake. From local elections to making it clear, together we rise, let's spread the fear. Shining the light, the darkness won't last. In Osceola's depths, we're breaking the cast. Unsanctioned truth, we're here for the fight. John and Tom shining through the night. With every debate, we're raising the stakes, taking down villains for justice's sake. Shining the light, the darkness won't last. In Osceola's depths, we're breaking the cast. Unsanctioned truth, we're here for the fight. John and Tom shining through the night. With every debate, we're raising the stakes, taking down villains for justice's sake. So tune in each week, don't miss the show. John and Tom will help you know.
Is in a great place today, but doesn't mean we can't make it better. The fact that the governor is choosing to continue to get on his private plane, paid for by taxpayers, by the way, and go to every part of the state only to hit the House is something that he is choosing to do. That is not what I would do if I were the governor, but he's entitled to make that decision. I know today he took his private plane out to Ohio. If he would spend more time here in this Capitol having conversations with myself and other members of the House, he would understand our position, why we're in that position, and if he is able to convince us otherwise and have us move in another direction, maybe in his direction, well, then he has every opportunity to do so. The difference between the governor and the House is always willing to have the tough conversation. We're always willing to answer the tough questions. We're always willing to have the debate. The governor isn't willing to have a conversation, period. Period. There's no difference between him and any 7th grader in Miami-Dade County right now who tweets. That's the only difference, is he's not willing to have the conversation with a person like me or any other person of the House. You don't want to have it with me? No problem. Go pick one of the other 119 members to have the conversation with. He's not willing to do that. But at some point, adults have to prevail. I'm willing to have that conversation in person at any moment. He is not. And that's a question that he has to face every single day. It should be asked every single day. Why are you not willing to have the tough conversation? What is it that are you scared? Is he scared of having the tough conversation? I have no other conclusion to reach but that. Because if not, why wouldn't he sit down? So I don't know when that conversation is going to happen. I haven't spoken to him in quite some time. But eventually the Senate and the House will come to an agreement on the budget, and then we will go from there.
Welcome to Unsanctioned.
I think everyone needs to understand that the governor has been leading on a lot of issues, and he's been ahead of the curve on a lot. He was ahead of the curve on COVID. He was ahead of the curve on DEI. He was ahead of the curve on immigration. And he's ahead of the curve, so far ahead of the curve than most people on property taxes. What people have to understand, and I think what everyone listening to me understands, the people in this audience understand, is that we are headed, if not already in, a property tax revolt. We are seeing property taxes skyrocket at sort of the levels that we saw in the mid-2000s. In the mid-2000s, not different than what we're seeing right now. You've seen a rise in property values, a corresponding rise in property taxes, and then governments have expanded beyond their wildest dreams. Over the last 5 years, just 5 years ago, local governments have increased their general fund budgets by anywhere between 60 to 120%. A lot of them have doubled over the last 5 years. Now, If somebody's going to say that government can't cut, they're lying to you. They can. With the governor's DOGE efforts, with just prudent fiscal responsibility, there is enough money for local governments to cut. But they're not going to cut by themselves. They're going to have to be forced to cut, and this is why giving property tax relief is so important. I did 2 events yesterday, one in the Villages, which is part of my district, and one in Hernando County as part of my district. Governor, we haven't had an opportunity to talk about this, but in total there was about 300 people in both of those events. And I asked the question, would you rather have a sales tax cut or a property tax cut? Every single one, except for 2, said that they wanted a property tax cut. Now the 2 were Canadian, so I understand why they wanted the sales tax cut. But I don't understand, and it's not just them, Governor. I'm going to tell you.
Why don't we do this room? If you had a choice, property tax relief or 1/4 of 1 penny in sales tax, who would choose property tax relief?
There you go.
Who would choose 1/4 of 1 penny? Anybody?
There are no Canadians.
We don't have
in the
any
room.
Canadians here? Come on.
It's a no-brainer, John. It's a no-brainer.
Oh my gosh. That was, I think that the intro video was one of the most painful to watch in the show. This guy, Danny Perez, has proven himself to be so outclassed, not only by the governor, but just by the situation itself.
Yeah.
This is like watching Beast in a boxing ring beat the crap out of some skinny, prepubescent stick figure. It is mind-boggling. He's so out of his depth. It's just, man, I feel bad for him.
He wants to be a star, John. He wants to be a star.
Well, first of all, he's failed already. He'll never be the star that he wants to be.
No.
Just based on what he's done so far, it's pathetic. And the number one issue is that he's in the wrong.
Yeah.
He always picks the wrong side. That's what his talent is. If he had a superpower, he would be picking the wrong side. This is the guy that you put in the front, and if he makes a right turn, you go left.
No.
Every side, whether it's immigration, right? He picked the wrong side on immigration.
No.
Now taxes, 2 important things. Taxes, he picks the wrong side again. I mean, obviously, and why? We have to explain why this is. It's not just that he's an idiot. He clearly is, but that's not the problem here.
No.
The problem is that he is completely bought and sold and paid for. This is a guy that has a 12-inch diameter hole in his backside, and that's what the lobbyists use to control his mouth. That's him. This guy is completely bought and sold. Everybody else is smart enough to know that you hike your pants over the hole. Danny keeps his all the way down so that anybody can reach in there and control his mouth. Because I would never allow myself to be, first of all, I have trouble controlling my own mouth. But at the same time, I would never allow somebody to destroy my honor and reputation. I'll do that for myself.
No.
You know?
Yeah.
And Danny allows these lobbyists to just completely destroy him. I don't know how much longer he can last. It's rough. Welcome to another episode of Unsanctioned Florida. This is going to be a big show, fun show. This is going to be good.
It's a lot happening. There's a lot
happening in the state. There's a lot happening locally in Central Florida. So stick with us. I am former school board member John Arguello. This is my great friend, citizen Tom Lord. This is Unsanctioned Florida. And I'm going to read through the headlines real quick, and then we'll say a prayer and get right down to the show. I also wanted to do a plug before we even get started here. I want to do a quick plug for some friends of mine, Army guys who are super good guys. Let me pull up their thing. I should have sent this to you, but then I just saw their stuff out there, and I just want to plug it before I forget it. Well, let me go. I can find the headlines I found, so let me do that and then close this window out. Let me do that first, and then I'll get to the plug. This is Unsanctioned number 112, May 14, 2025. We have, as you just saw, Danny Perez make a crazy just a crazy plea for help is what that, I guess, is the best way to describe.
You know,
that.
it's funny, John. He talks about that the governor doesn't want to have conversations with him, but why isn't he trying to have those conversations with the governor? You know,
Well,
and then
can you imagine?
instead, you know, saying things like that the governor is acting like a seventh grader, that he's getting emotional, things like this. He keeps saying these things.
Okay, knowing DeSantis, right? Knowing just about anybody who has the gall to run for governor, right? Do you think they're going to come crawling to you after you call them a seventh grader in public on the public channel of Florida? It's crazy. That's not a and then some committee sent the DeSantis an invite saying, "Hey, would you please? Why don't you come down and sit before us and give us an idea?" If I were the governor, I would be like, "Screw you guys! Here's what you just did. You just earned a whole bunch of primary contenders. That's what you did." It's just bad. But the worst part of this is that it's a waste of time. This House Speaker, extended the House session to the end of June, okay? Destroying the work life of a lot of these people and the family life of a lot of these. You know, they can only go and cheat on their wives for 2 months at a time. Now it's going to be for 4 months that they're cheating on their families. That's a lot of debauchery to fit into 1 year. So I think that they're having this is
especially when you know what we know about most of these people.
Yeah. So I mean, okay. Well, anyways, listen. So 8 years ago, we just saw that. We just saw the Danny Perez, more beef between the legislature and our chief executive of the state. Boy, Congressman Maxwell Frost avoids the press. Florida on the brink of property tax revolution. We just heard about that. That was Senator Blaze Angolia, who was talking there about that. We'll talk a little bit more.
He's right on this.
Yeah, he's right on this. DeSantis says sales tax reform is dead on arrival. If they send him a bill that is about sales tax instead of property tax, that it is dead on arrival. He said he will veto. The legislature needs to cut taxes. Governor to sign golf ban from state parks. Democrats consider opening primaries to rebuild an irrelevant party. This is a fun story. Nikki Fried, of course, says they're just getting started as rats start jumping ship at a furious pace. One of those rats, Senator Jason Pizzo, runs for governor as an MPA. Developers try to lock residents into forever fees. I mean, the grift never ends with these guys. No. DOGE-like idea spreading across Florida. Mayra Uribe announces a run for county mayor. His husband embroiled in nonprofit scandal. What good timing, right? What good timing. He made a post. I'll talk about it when we get there. Tony Ortiz, longtime Orlando commissioner who was a Republican, switches party and then hints to that he is going to run for mayor. Brevard votes down funding for pridefest, while the St. Cloud mayor giggles as the council blows off citizens' concern over the pride event and nickel and dime fees. Opponents highlight the consequences. We'll talk about that. That's here local. Changes to Kissimmee nightlife coming after another shooting. Yes, another shooting in Kissimmee. Pretty soon, they're not going to have anybody living here anymore. They're all going to be shot. I live in Kissimmee. Jeez, this is, it's like jury duty in Kissimmee getting shot, apparently. I don't get it.
And, you know, St. Cloud is on the fast track to the same problems.
You know what? Listen, before we even started this show, we're in our, I guess, approaching our third year. Yep. Year we're in, right? We were talking about St. Cloud becoming like Kissimmee then. Yeah. Right. And before we even started the show. So it's happening. St. Cloud's down the wrong path. So anyway, that's the show that we got ready to say a quick prayer, and then we're going to get to this plug. Oh, Lord, thank you so much for, as crazy as it seems, we are truly grateful to live in the great state of Florida, the free state of Florida. This is a great state to be part of the movement of patriotism and taking our country back from the radicals who are just hell-bent on destroying it. So continue to inspire us, continue to get citizens involved, continue to awaken people. Let's get these red pills out to the masses, and let's make sure that they are not allowing themselves to be taken advantage of by all these corrupt politicians. Lord, we are, as I said, we are grateful. We look forward to doing your work in the best way that we can. And in your son's name, Jesus Christ, amen.
Amen.
All right, let's get to it, Tom.
All right.
Oh, wait, the plug.
Yeah, the plug.
Let's get started, and then I'll get to the plug right after.
You going to do the plug after?
Yeah, go ahead and announce the first story, and then I'll get to the
All
plug.
right. Well, let's introduce the segment. All right. Yes, John. Do you have your plug?
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. So this is a band. This is a bunch of soldiers. I have just an incredible amount of respect for our soldiers. The name of the band is called The Resilient. Leave No Man Behind. It's presented by the Raymond James Valor Project here going on Friday, June 20th, live in St. Petersburg. It's you'll see, I mean, there's all kinds of things on here that are going on. It's $15, but veterans get in free. Veterans and first responders get in free to this event. The Resilient, Leave No Man Behind. Please check them out. There's also something here called the Reborn Project. So check them out. One of these guys who's in this band served with one of my great friends, war hero Tim Kozelos, just a great guy too. And
Absolutely.
So anyways, these are very close to me, and so let's support them. Again, The Resilient, look it up. It's at Raymond James in St. Petersburg, June 20th, and I'll announce it again, and then we'll make sure that we add a link. So look those guys up.
Absolutely.
All right, and hopefully we can have them on the show at some point and hear what their background story and so on, and help support the vets. All right.
Well, like you alluded to, John, we said it in the open. The governor, he's saying that if they send him this tax deal that they cooked up in the legislature, it's going to be dead on arrival.
Why would they be doing it? They're doing it because this would basically kill any chance of doing property tax relief for folks. Because what are they going to say next year? Oh, well, we don't have the money to do property tax relief because, this is mostly money going to locals. But if you do a major reform, there's going to be a transition period. You may need the state to take some of our surplus and help some of the local communities, like rural communities, as they transition their tax base away from taxing their own people. So the purpose of what they're proposing is to stop us from getting any type of property tax relief. Is there anyone here that would prefer 1/4 of 1 penny relief to property tax relief, or do you want property tax relief? I mean, I don't even think it's a question. And so I've never seen anything be proposed that has so little buy-in. People are not clamoring to give Canadian tourists a tax break. So we need to have a Florida first tax policy here. And that means standing up for our own people before we're standing up for the tourists and the foreigners. And I look forward to working with the Senate and relevant House members to have a good Florida first tax package. But I can tell you, any Florida last tax package is going to be dead on arrival. We are not going to kneecap our ability to provide you property tax relief just so we can give a little bit of a benefit to Canadian tourists. That is not going to happen, so you can take that to the bank.
Notice the governor said relevant House members. I wonder if he was alluding to Mr. Perez, but Laura commented he's a complete idiot. I couldn't agree more.
Yeah, this is a joke. I mean, come on, property. Listen, the bottom line is that we're finally having politicians say the right thing and expect the right outcome. This is property taxes. The governor hit the nail on the head when he said that this is about allowing people to live in the homes that they bought free and clear without having to continue paying. Imagine having to pay thousands of dollars, sometimes tens of thousands, $10,000 or more for your property taxes, right? You already paid on the house. You have to continue paying for it. Retired people have to continue working just so that they have to pay this tax. Come on. This is simple. This is not something. And now you're talking about the sales tax. Listen, here's the problem with that. They can reduce the sales tax. What do you think is going to happen in a couple of years? They're going to raise the sales tax again. Look at Osceola County. Every time we fall asleep at night, the next morning they're trying to raise the sales tax. That it happens every single day. And what happened? Oh, we need the schools. Listen, this bull crap about the schools getting their sales tax things. They do the sales tax with the pretense that this is going to help kids get what they need. Number one, that's false. Number two, that's only a percentage of the way that the money is spent when they increase the sales tax. The rest of it goes to the county and cities and whoever else, right? So it's all BS. The sales tax thing is dead. Don't allow them to compare. That's not apples to apples. One is an apple. The other one's a poison dog crap. Don't do it. Don't do the sales tax. Keep fighting on the issue. Keep pressuring your state rep. Let them know that this is about property taxes. That's real relief for real Floridians. The sales tax BS is temporary. They will raise your taxes again. Forget all that. Forget all. It doesn't matter if the sales tax and then the county increases the sales tax. That's what will happen.
Yep.
So don't enforce the property tax thing. And as Blazing Angolia said, we're on the verge of a property tax revolt. You already have our insurance, right? This is we talked like way back when they first started talking about these problems. We mentioned property tax as a possible resolution. Now, why don't you want property tax? Let's say, what's the bad part? What's the con of property taxes? What they're saying, at least, is that it takes away some local control. Now, listen, I know sometimes people say that I'm radical about this. I think that a little bit of loss of local control at the county commission level is a good thing, and here's why. They need a DOGE over.
Absolutely.
Osceola County is corrupt beyond measure. Right now, what are they doing? They are building a 50-foot tower, gay tower, celebrating the sexuality of our county commissioner, okay, in the shape of a Jesus fish, okay, if they have $250,000 to erect a statue commemorating the sexuality of one of the county commissioners, the county commission has lost the right and the credibility to spend our money. They need less money, not more. What else do our county commissioners do? Brandon Arrington spends nine minutes out of 10 minutes every day at the dog pound, pretend to people who own dogs. Okay, if I were a dog, I butter him like nothing. Okay, that I would not trust my dog with Brandon Arrington, and so they're corrupt. They're using our taxpayer money to throw a whole bunch of gimmicks at you: free trees, free dogs, free shots, for all this crap. But it's our money, and that's not how. If we don't get a say on how that money is spent, then I think that Doge is the only.
No, I believe, John,
and many of these other counties as well.
The funny thing about this, John, is that this is a no-brainer. Like I said, it seems the only person who doesn't know that this is a no-brainer is Danny Perez. Put pressure on your state representatives, Erica Booth, Paula Stark. Put pressure on them. Get on board with because that's what the people want. It is not fair to senior citizens that own their home that they have to keep paying these property taxes on this home, and if they don't, they could end up losing their home. It's not right. It's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer.
No-brainer. It's why I probably get it, because even no brains is too much of a high bar for Danny Perez, in my opinion. I just, he's completely ruined. And I know the lobbyists personally that own Danny Perez. They brag about how they own Danny Perez. So it's just, I have no respect for the man.
No, well, all right, John. Well, one piece of legislation that the governor says he will sign is the bill to protect our state parks. And we'll take a look at this. Yeah, he says he will protect these state parks. House Bill 209, which requires that projects must be conservation-based recreational uses, was approved by lawmakers in April and awaits his signature. So yeah, behind this, and this is despite the fact that he was involved with this this scandal that was with the state parks that was back in year. As a matter of fact, he says that he never saw land to allow resorts and sports facilities on state park land. Those plans were ultimately scrapped by FDEP, but House Bill 209 doesn't ban all types of development. It does require be conservation-based recreational uses that support things like hiking, swimming, horseback riding, boating, nature study, those type of activities. So if signed, these measures will be effective as of July 1st of this year. So that is one thing he said he will sign, John.
Yeah, it is funny. This was, at the end of the day, this was his mess up, right? Because these are his people that did that. Now, you have to remember, the legislature and the governor are at odds right now. But a year ago, they weren't, right? A year ago, they were peas in a pod. And when that was happening, the let's just say not so great actors, not so smart bureaucrats tried to get away with developing some golf course. Everybody thought that they would love it. Now, this is not some nefarious action. The people who are trying to make money, which is perfectly normal, this is the United States of America, right? Everything that we do involves money, right? It's a reality of life. So there's nothing nefarious there. But they were trying to make money. They thought they had a great idea, and they might have, except that their messaging was so bad, and they never thought, I guess they thought that they were going to announce the idea and that people would start carrying them on their shoulders. Like, ooh, these are great guys. Yay, what a great idea. Let's build a golf course on a state park. And no, they were wrong. The Floridians basically revolted against the idea of destroying natural habitat to build golf courses, right? Florida's already beautiful. In some terrible state where nothing is nice, like let's say New York, right? You have to build a golf course so that you get rid of all the ugly stuff. Well, in Florida's beautiful. Our state parks are beautiful. I know people from New York are getting all pissed off because I said that. I don't care. But Florida is a beautiful state. Our state parks are not for golf courses. It's for the state park. It's for the nature. And I think that that's a sentiment that Republican, Democrat, everybody was on board with. So they basically swallowed their words. They went back. DeSantis, apparently, who had never seen it or anything, said that was a half-baked idea. It wasn't approved. And it was released way too early. So
yeah,
maybe that's true. Who knows? But at least they're correcting and they know. And here's what I love about this story. And here's what I love about what happened. It tells the public how much control you actually have, right? Whenever the public gets really pissed off, the action that they take has a great consequence. It made them forget about these golf courses. It's making people pay over this property tax. If Danny Perez does not pass property tax, the Republican Party is going to have to spend $30 million to try to rehabilitate their images, and we're coming up to an election year, and it's not going to be enough. People are going to be really pissed. And anybody who says, I'm going in for property taxes will get elected. And everybody who said that they were against it is going to get beat in a primary. If things were fair. We know that the Republican Party is not fair at all. They're full of crap, as is the Democrat Party. So, but anyways, that's what's going on right now, and we look forward to the governor signing property taxes. So keep it up, people.
Yeah,
everybody
absolutely.
out there who's been fighting for property taxes, keep it up. This is about to happen.
That's what it's going to take, is this pressure on your legislators. You've got to put that pressure on them, and they might just do what you want them to do. This was bipartisan across the board, the way people felt about that park plan with the resorts and the golf courses and stuff like that. Nobody wanted this. No Republican, no Democrat, nobody wanted this. So thankfully they decided to scrap this thing and get rid of it. But I'm glad to see him do this, but I ultimately want to see this property tax initiative on the ballot. Let's get it there.
Yeah, absolutely.
And John, yes, people are upset and done with the Republican Party, as we know that someone had just started up a third party in Florida, a third Republican Party. I guess you could call it that. I don't know. It's the America First Party, started by Trent Wayman, a man that most of us know. And,
so there's an attorney and a state committee man who got together, and they really are the foundation of this party. I don't know that papers have been filed yet. We don't know who's going to lead that group or anything. Like, we don't know the details, but we do know that there is a third party incubating right now. It called, I'm not even going to release the name. What, did you already say the name?
I think I did.
Yeah. So it's the America First Party. They're coming.
I think he shared it himself out there. So I mean, it's on Facebook. It's on X.
It's on X. Yeah. So go out there, look it up. You'll see. But the America First Party, it's coming, and we think it's gonna be great. It's gonna be great for Floridians. It's not gonna be great for the Republican Party.
No.
Number one, you're gonna have a percentage of people that leave the Republican Party and go to the America First Party. And what is the America First Party? Essentially, the America First Party is the values of the Republican Party without the hypocrisy and without the corruption. So if you're tired of the hypocrisy and you're tired of the corruption of the Republican Party, but those are your values, the ones that they say are theirs, then America First Party is the party for you. So look it up. I think on the next show, by the time it's completely established and there's leadership,
we'll definitely have something to talk about. More to talk about.
Trent come on the show and explain to us the platform, and we'll give you details. And we need to start getting people signed up for that party. And here's why.
Absolutely.
Because at the end of the day, everything is leverage in politics, and this party gives the American family. It gives the patriotic American family leverage in politics, because now it's not guaranteed that the Republican's going to get the vote, because it's not, of course, I don't want to vote for the insane nut job transgender person, right? So what am I going to do? This Republican is trash. They're a rhino. Erica Booth, she's a rhino. She's trash, but I can't vote for a Democrat. So what do? America First is a solution, right? And we think that a lot of Republicans will appreciate that option. And the America First Party is also a party that's going to be honest in terms of its primaries and selection of candidates and so forth. So look forward to that. We'll talk about that on the next Florida show.
Absolutely. I think it would be great to have Trent on to talk about that. But let's talk about a party that is dying slow, painful death, John. That is the Democrat Party. But Nikki Fried says...
I don't know. It's not even... It's like rapidly and painful and grotesque, gnashing of teeth.
Well, it still refuses to die, John. And Nikki Fried thinks she has the answer to rebuild the party, and that is opening up their primaries.
Understanding in front of the state capitol, well, Florida Democrats say they might open up their primaries in coming elections. That is, as they try to regain the former relevance and political power they once had in this swing state. Let's take a look. While Florida Republicans take their infighting into overtime this session,
The way the House is run, they threaten you.
For some reason, it seems the last week or so, the governor's been a little more emotional.
Democrats have had a bumpy ride themselves. 3 members have left the party, one of them resigning his role as Senate Minority Leader, saying this.
And here's the issue. The Democratic Party in Florida is dead.
Dead.
There are good people that can resuscitate it. But they don't want it to be me.
Pizzo says the party's dead. What's your response?
I can't. He has his own reasons of why he left the party. Those for his own personal ambitions. I can't prevent that. That's his goals. But we move on.
Florida Democrats Chair Nikki Fried Thursday said there's more than a pulse left in her party, and she thinks the blood is blue for 2026.
We know that the midterms are going to be a blue wave. Like, there's no way around that. But based on what's happening in the economy across the country, the trade
get her
wars,
Xanax.
the instability of the markets,
She must be.
every
Can
day
you
there's
imagine
something
how high
crazier
she
and
must be
crazier
to
that's
say
coming out of the
something
Trump
like that?
administration. And so this is an opportunity that, as long as we're building the coalition, doing the work on the ground, you're going to see some pretty big wins come 26, not just here in Florida, but across the country.
And it's not just souring polling for Trump. Fried's evidence includes historically small GOP victory margins in those recent congressional special elections. Plus, News that two potential 2028 Dem presidential candidates are keynoting this year's Leadership Blue Conference. Senator Cory Booker and Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear.
And those are once
that should
again
be
showing
funny.
that the entire country understands that Florida has got to be back on the map.
Republicans have already rebuffed the perceived enthusiasm, noting their ongoing lead in voter registration almost daily, and saying special elections in general can be tough.
We had big wins, big turnout in November. Getting people to turn around and try to vote a couple months later is hard. And then you mix that in with some situations that we have here with vote by mail ballots expiring and having to re-renew, creates certain challenges because of the timing of these elections.
Freed, however, says she's not taking anything for granted. She's now working hard, she says, to bring more no-party affiliated voters into the fold, and not just through messaging.
Have you thought about letting them into your primary process?
You know, those are conversations that we're actually having. There's a lot of people that are in the middle that are typically part of our coalition. A lot more Black and brown men have become independent. The younger generation have become independent. And so if we are going to rise to this moment that we are going through in our country, we have to have that serious conversation about opening up our primaries. I also don't believe it's constitutional how we do what we're doing right now, that 1/3 of our state don't have a say and who their candidates are coming out of primaries. So we are looking through this and trying to build consensus inside the party, making sure that everybody has a seat at the table as we go through this conversation.
I don't think that's going to be as easy as she makes it out to be, John, to open up their primaries to people. I think they have to go through a process, and it has to be approved by the legislature. I don't know.
Well, let's say that she did it. All right, let's say that she did it. There's good and there's bad here, right? There's several things that can happen. Number one, let's say that they allow they allow independents to come in and vote in the primary. Now what's going to happen is that it's going to make the Democrat more conservative, right? Which might be by design. They know that the whole transgender thing is dead, right? Trying to chemically castrate kids, trying, the genital mutilation of children, all that is dead. All that's dying, right? It's basically pedophilia on a equally violent level. And that stuff, nobody's interested. So what do you do then? How do you get rid of these nut jobs that have taken control of the Democrat Party? You have to bring in people that are more conservative. And the only way that you can do that, the only way that you can elect a Democrat who's not a nut job at this point, is to allow independents to vote in that primary. So now you have the nut jobs who are in control of the Democrat Party. They basically have to surrender their nut job candidates and allow a real normal candidate to run. And so that's a positive. It's not a bad idea to do that. If I were a Democrat and I knew that the Democrat Party was dead because they refuse to acknowledge what they've done, well, okay, this is a great way to resolve it without having to acknowledge it. Why? Because the more moderate people win in this open primary. But the other problem is, or let's just say not a problem, but the other issue for them is that now you get people who have bad intentions, right? Like me. If I could vote in the Democrat primary, you know who I would vote for? I would vote for the crazy nut job with the most blue hair in the world. Right? Why? Because I as long as you tell that person that that's normal, as long as you tell America, as long as you tell the American family that these crazy blue-haired idiots should be able to read gay pornography to kids, then I'm going to make sure that that's what's highlighted in your party, because that's your platform, right? At the end of the day.
Yeah.
So why allow the normal people to take control of the Democrat Party until they get rid of the cancer that is in their party? So, and they allow somebody like me, for example, let's say if I were independent, I'm not a registered Republican, but if I were independent, but I was a conservative one, then that kind of by design allows people to come in and manipulate the outcome of the election in a nefarious way.
Yeah. John, if this was the case, right, and we know that there are more registered Republicans, 1 million plus more registered Republicans than Democrats in the state of Florida, they open up their primaries, you're going to have a lot of Republicans voting in the Democrat primary. She could could be the woman who puts the final nail in the coffin of the Democrat Party here in Florida. I mean, yes, Pizzo says they're dead, but one thing she did have correct was that Pizzo has his own intentions. He's doing this for his own reasons, and she's not lying about that, John. She's not.
Well,
lying
that's
about
the
that.
only thing she's gotten correct since she got hired as chairman of the Democrat Party. You know, that he has his own reasons, but that's obvious. You know, I mean, it's an observation. Pizzo, you think that he spends hours combing that hair, putting in a pound of shellac in that hair because he's not seeking? No, Pizzo dreams about himself at night. So Pizzo, he wants a political career. He wants to see his name in lights, and he knows that the Democrat Party is dead, and they can't make it happen for him.
Yeah.
If the Democrat Party could make it happen for him, he would be, he's basically Florida's Gavin Newsom.
He is. And that's the funny.
For years, did you hear him say, hey, let's stop chemically castrating kids. Let's stop let's stop trying to force, porn into kids' libraries. No, he never said anything. All of a sudden, the party gets, completely obliterated in election after election. Now he's like, oh, listen, I'm actually moderate. I don't believe in all the crazy stuff. But you're also not a man of courage. Apparently, he also doesn't have a pair of testicles himself so that he can say, hey, this is wrong. And the Democrat Party needs to acknowledge it's wrong. We were wrong, and we need to get rid of that crap.
Yeah.
No, he swallowed it just like all of them did.
Yeah. And, like I said,
Nikki swallows those roaches she smokes.
Well, yeah, that was our next story, John, is that, yes, Nikki Fried was right. He's doing this for his own intentions. He is running for governor in 2026, and he says he's going to run as that independent that he filed as. And, yeah, he told Miami CBS affiliate WFOR that he would not officially enter the race until September. And, I don't know. I mean, yes, he does sound more to the center. I don't know how he's going to go up against John Morgan, who we've also heard is going to run, especially when it comes to money. I mean, John Morgan has all the money. I don't know what money Pizzo has, how he would go about making a dent in this race. He does have some name recognition now from his antics, but those antics and that name recognition is going to die out unless he can keep up some antics until, it comes to that. What do you think about how this is looking, John, with Pizzo?
I mean, can you imagine? This has now become the Kentucky Derby. You have whatever Republican runs, right, wins the primary, who's the likely winner of the general election. But you have Byron Donalds and whoever the unnamed candidate at this point in time is on the DeSantis team, right? Which is either going to be, people say Casey DeSantis. I think it might be Jay Collins or somebody like that. But you have him, you have Byron Donalds fighting it out in a primary, which all the other people running for governor are hoping that they destroy themselves in that process,
right? Which
is possible, right? But they're going to try. So then you have, of course, the Democrat, right? So we don't know who it is. Who knows? Maybe they pull Andrew Gillum out of the darkened hotel room to try attempt number 2, right? Now that they know that he's a drug addict who sits in a hotel room toes down with male prostitutes, he's more likely to be a candidate than if they didn't know.
Yeah.
So maybe that's him. You have John Morgan, right, as an independent candidate under the the Capitalist Party now, right?
Yeah.
So you have now you have Pizzo, who's going to run as an independent, right? What does that mean? I mean, he's running as an independent, and then you have, as we mentioned earlier, an America First candidate.
Yeah.
Right. So it's possible if you have an America First candidate, that's going to take votes away from the Republican. Now, I don't know that the America First Party would field a candidate to run against the Republican governor. You never know. But the Republican Party has so soiled the bed that you have a ton of Republicans who are extremely upset. And unless they have it, essentially the Republican Party has from now until maybe it's they have 7 months to get squared away, apologize to the base, bring the grassroots back into the fold, or they face another party where there's another Republican or right-leaning conservative who, again, has all of the values but none of the corruption, and you're going to see them siphon off a lot of vote. And then you might see a Democrat governor. You could possibly see a Democrat governor or Pizzo. And maybe, just maybe, and we'll end here. I'll end here, at least on my portion. Just maybe Pizzo left the party and he's trying to act normal, not because he's trying to become governor, because he knows that he will not win that race, but because he's being given incentive, right?
Yeah.
By the Republicans who know and who know that they messed up with the grassroots, but they don't want to have to say, I'm sorry, and they don't want to have to fix the party. They want to keep the corruption. So you throw in a whole bunch of other people, just like they have in all these local elections when they throw in ghost candidates. They're throwing a ghost candidate at the gubernatorial level to split the votes. And that way, by default, the strongest Republican will win, possibly. So it's a real complex race. It's become the Kentucky Derby, and we'll see who wins it at the end. We'll be covering it closely.
Absolutely. And, John, I think you go back to what Pizzo said when he left the Democrat Party. He said that there are people that want to reform the Democrat Party in Florida, but they don't want me to. They don't want me to. He didn't say that they don't want them to. He said me. So he was speaking about himself specifically. I think that this whole thing with him running for governor, he knows he's not going to win. He's not going to win. Yeah. He's not going to beat Byron Donalds. He's not going to beat John Morgan. He's not going to beat any of these people. But maybe, just maybe, he's making a play for the leader of the Democrat Party here in Florida. Maybe he's looking to oust Nikki Fried.
I don't know. I mean, the problem with that theory is that I think it's more likely that the people who run the Democrat Party don't want him because he actually stands for change.
Yeah.
Right? And I don't just mean change in terms of corruption and grossness or, ideology, right? Like the blue-haired craziness. It's both. You have the base that they don't care how bad you are ethically. And then you have the lobbyists who are trying to find what point is too bad for the Democrat base.
No.
So, so they're the worst of the worst. You have the biggest creeps, and you have the Republican Party and Democrat Party in bed together doing all of this. So they're not really, it's not as divisive as people think.
Yeah.
Neighbors, of course you see some crazy people, but neighbors are still getting along, and certainly in Tallahassee they're still getting along, drinking beers together, sleeping with the same prostitutes, and so on.
Absolutely, but you have to watch out for the National Party looking down on Florida, especially when you have Dollar Store Obama coming as the keynote speaker at their convention. If they get trounced in 2026, and I imagine they will, I can't imagine that they won't. When they get trounced in 2026, I think that national leadership is going to be looking at Florida and looking at Nikki Fried and being like, we need somebody else. Because we've heard the National Democratic Party, they actually ousted David Hogg. And we'll talk more about that on the America show. But yes, they ousted David Hogg, who is more to the left than the AOC even. So, yeah,
I mean, what do you
I think
expect,
you're
right?
seeing a lot of changes within the Democratic Party. A lot of them on the upper echelons see that they need to make a change, and they need to get away from some of the messaging that they've been putting out there.
But why did they get rid of David Hogg?
It was because someone that he was running against filed a complaint, said that something unfair happened within the vote. So
yeah, but that doesn't matter. Yeah, they used an excuse, but really, why? Why did they get rid of him? They got rid of him because he was trying to get rid of the establishment.
Yeah.
Of the Democrat Party, which is connected to the establishment of the Republican Party.
Right.
So that's what it was about. Really, it's just about holding on to power and the status quo. How do they survive these 4 tumultuous years of Trump, right? He was causing chaos on so many levels. And then you have David Hogg coming out saying, hey, we need to get rid of all these old people and start putting in some fresh people, young people. And what does that mean? That means that you have to pay the bribes all over again.
Yeah.
And so, that's why they got rid of him. They got rid of him because he was causing trouble. He was saying that he was going to primary Democrats for real and so on and so forth. Everything that the FRA had been doing, David Hogg said he was going to do for the Democrats.
Yeah.
Right? So that's the problem, is that he tried to go against the establishment and the establishment killed him.
Yeah. So
at the end of the day, it's always the same thing. It's always the people in dark rooms, who are pulling the strings.
It's true. It's true.
I went through the Rolodex of insults in my mind, and I thought, it's already been insult heavy this evening.
No, it's all good, man. I agree. That's who's making these deals. And it sounds like that's the people who made this deal, John, here. To back these developers who are pushing to lock residents into forever fees for amenities. Forever fees for amenities. And look at this. Here it is. Homeowners could face liens and foreclosures for refusing to pay subscriptions to developer-controlled pools, golf courses, and clubhouses that the association and homeowners don't own, control, or manage forever. And I just found this to be really crazy. Florida's largest home builders are advancing legislation that would upend property rights and force homeowners to pay perpetual fees for amenities they neither own nor control. Lennar, one of the nation's largest home builders, is backing a legislative push to rewrite Florida's property laws. The goal is to let the developers retain ownership of community amenities like pools, gyms, and golf courses, then charge homeowners perpetual fee for access. If passed, House Bill 597 would overturn decades of legal precedent protecting buyers from these schemes. The tactic isn't new. In 2023, a Florida appeals court ruled in Avatar versus Gundel that developers can't force homeowners into unending contracts for amenities they don't own. The decision relied on a 1990 state law banning separately owned community facilities from saddling residents with mandatory fees. Now Lennar and allies want to gut that law. So, in the Senate, it started with Bill 1118, a Lennar drafted proposal that died in committee after public backlash. But like a zombie in a B horror movie, it resurfaced weeks later as House Bill 597. Critics argue that the bill's
paying attention.
Yeah, that's usually how this goes. Critics argue that the bill's sudden revival reeks of backroom deals. House Speaker Danny Perez, a Miami Republican with ties to real estate donors, fast-tracked the legislation. So there you go. Anyway, it just goes on to talk about why Lennar's pushing legal firewall at risk. And how you can fight back about this. Hit up your legislators, call or email. Let them know that you don't want to see House Bill 579 or Senate Bill 1118. This is ridiculous to be asking residents to pay for these amenities forever. It's almost like property taxes, John, where you buy your house and you pay those taxes forever.
Literally, listen, I think that might be why they're striking now. They know that the money will be there, that the people will survive the hit because they're taking away the property taxes, right? If that happens, then how can we grift? What's the maximum grift potential here? So here they go. I mean, it's shameful. It's shameful. I mean, the fact that, and they think that nobody's paying attention, but listen, there are some good legislators. Those people let everybody know that something's going on. Some lobbyists know what's going on. They tell people what's going on. So the word gets out. And there are people who are reading these bills. It's just, it's hard to catch the grift when there are so many professional grifters that are paid hundreds of thousands of dollars to do this. There's billions of dollars at stake. And the developers are, some of the chief grifters in Florida.
Yeah, absolutely. And the things that they do when they're up there in Tallahassee, these bills get rewritten, they go through these changes, things get added, you don't know. There are groups that watch this, like the FRA here in Florida, CDF here in Florida, that watch these bills, that keep track of them. Definitely, if you want to keep track of what's going on, definitely stay involved. Watch shows like our show. Get involved with groups like FRA or CDF or any local group that you know of that looks after these things or watches local politics and government, so that you can stay abreast of what's going on, because all of this stuff impacts you at the end of the day. You know. You disappeared, John. Yeah, your sound is gone.
Oh, there you go. Okay, sorry about that. Yeah, absolutely. You're absolutely right.
All right, so let's take it to our next one. This is the final story for our state segment. Manatee County, they signed on to the Florida DOGE plan, John.
President Trump's Department of Government Efficiency has divided Americans, and some say that the cost cutting is needed in federal government.
While critics say it's reducing the government's ability to protect and serve Americans, but like it or not, Manatee commissioners have just signed off on launching their own homegrown countywide version of DOGE. SNN's Christy Sultan has the details.
Manatee County commissioners say it's time to take the search for government waste to their own backyard. Wednesday, the commissioners voted unanimously to launch a local version of the government efficiency and search for the potential waste in county staffing and services. Commission Chair George Cruz says the Manatee DOGE can protect taxpayers without compromising services.
Locally, we're more of a scalpel. We're small government. We provide certain services, and those services are needed and requested by the citizens. But that doesn't mean that we're doing everything as efficiently as we can with every dollar being spent.
But not everyone thinks Manatee County needs its own version of DOGE to mine their money. 2 weeks ago, SNN spoke to Christine Kennedy Meyer of the Democratic Club of Manatee. She says this idea isn't driven by savings, but by politics.
They can make budget cuts, they can make budget evaluations, but we do not support the creation of an unsupervised outside board that would have an oversized amount of influence on county decisions. And that's simply taking the citizens out of county decisions.
Still, Commissioner Cruz defends the plan. He says the 5-member committee could help the county by bringing in outside experts with a fresh take on how government should work.
To make recommendations to the board about how we can better spend money to make sure we're keeping the cost of living as low as possible for the citizens while providing the highest quality of life to the citizens.
In Manatee County, Christy Sultan, SNN, the Suncoast News Network.
All right, John. So we know that our county definitely needs DOGE services here, but way to go, Manatee County. I mean, a lot of action happening down there in Manatee, John.
Yeah, there really is. I was kind of distracted by that reporter, Manatee County, the Republican. I thought it was AI reporting the story.
You know what? I did too. I thought it was AI, and then I saw that Democrat that they interviewed, and I'm like, they always need a hairbrush, don't they? I mean, every one of them.
We were talking about that. Listen, I'm gonna create a nonprofit called Hairbrushes for Democrat. Because every Democrat, it looks just like a crazy mess. They just got out of bed. They just got out of the shower. They didn't have, like they've been riding on a motorcycle without a helmet for 6 hours. It's always something. I mean, they always look like just a mess. Now, I'm not somebody who's like, I don't dedicate a lot of time to my hair. Don't get me wrong.
No,
but they always look like a Gary Busey, after the motorcycle accident type of thing. I don't know. I don't get it, So anyways, my nonprofit, feel free to send your checks to Hairbrushes for Democrats. I'll be accepting donations of hairbrushes, and we'll send them to all the Democrats. I mean, Nikki Fried, we saw the video of her.
Yeah.
You know, it looked like, man, you don't have a hairbrush? I mean, come on. You're the chairwoman of the party.
She was struggling there, John. She was struggling to look serious, you know.
I mean, she looks seriously crazy.
Look honest.
I mean, she'll never look honest.
No.
She'll look high.
Yes. But yeah, Manatee, lots of stuff happening down there in Manatee, and good for them. Love to see some of that happening here. But no, we're not going to see any of that happening here anytime soon unless we make some changes to our elected officials here.
Yeah.
You know. All right, John. So before we go to Central Florida, we have this important commercial from our friends at magastore47.com.
Can't find what you're looking for? Well, you can find it at magastore47.com. From shirts to hats, lapel pins, and cardboard cutouts, you can find it all right here. Go and visit magastore47.com today.
John. So yes, we did talk about this at the top of the show when you were announcing the stories, and this one's actually kind of funny. We do have a new mayor candidate for Orange County mayor, and it's Mayra Uribe. And here's that story.
Commissioner Mayra Uribe announcing today she's running to be Orange County's next mayor. This as a scandal continues with her husband's charity that is now facing fines from the state.
It's a story investigative reporter Ashlyn Webb has pressed for answers on in a nearly year-long investigation, and she joins us live from the newsroom. Ashlyn, you tried to talk to the commissioner earlier this week about the latest developments in that state investigation and her connection to the charity.
Yes, and she didn't want to talk then, so we asked her today. Now, we began reporting last fall about how she gave hundreds of free Skybox tickets to Magic games and big concerts to her husband's charity, All-Star Dads. The charity raffled off some tickets to the same events at fundraisers, and now there's still no record on how that fundraised money was used as required by the IRS.
I'm at the BCC. This is inappropriate.
Commissioner Mayra Uribe wouldn't answer our questions Tuesday, so we tried to ask those same questions to her Thursday. Don't you believe that taxpayers should know how that money was used?
Ashlyn, on the 20th of May, you're going to get those answers. We will be going forward with that information. It'll be there. Thank you.
So they're not going to be able to get those answers now?
Do we have any other questions?
She wouldn't say what would be announced May 20th, but we do know that Uribe's husband, Kevin Sutton, has requested to defend his once charity sometime soon in front of an administrative judge. This after the state fined All-Star Dads, finding that the charity misrepresented to the public that they were a nonprofit tax-exempt organization. We want to hear your side of the story about what happened, where the money went.
Did you not hear my side? My side is May 20th.
But what's happening on May 20th?
You will find out on May 20th.
The IRS says All-Star Dads didn't file for 3 consecutive years, why its tax-exempt status was revoked. And then the state found it was fundraising unlawfully, with its registration expiring around October 2019.
In terms of the transparency, I know your wife's campaign is about transparency in part. I know she's talked a lot about Visit Orlando's transparency and One Pulse Foundation. What makes your charity any different?
My charity, the difference between us is we can show where the money's at. That's the difference.
But where's the documents to where the money's at?
The documents are at the bank, and I've given those bank statements for the past 6 years to everybody that has asked for it.
We've asked for it and we haven't gotten it.
It's the difference.
Now, Sutton has said months ago he would hold a press conference and show us those bank statements to clear this up. That has yet to happen, but the state investigation may not be done just yet. The state attorney's office received evidence concerning Commissioner Uribe's role of giving these free tickets to the charity. The office would not comment today on what's happened with that evidence. Reporting in Orlando, Ashlyn Webb, Channel 9 Eyewitness News.
Oh man, aren't they the odd couple, John? Those two, and Kevin Sutton. You know, I when we were doing show prep, I looked him up because I knew that name sounded familiar. He's very involved in basketball here locally. He was at one point one of the coaches of Team USA many years ago. But they are definitely the odd couple, John. But lots of problems there. Not a good time for her to announce that she's going to run for mayor.
Man, that's crazy. You know, these people, they have zero respect for the community. I've met her before. There's nothing wrong with her. She's a nice person, but you got to have judgment. You're under investigation. Your husband's under investigation, and then you declare. And she made a big deal about it.
Yeah.
She went, she made like social media posts. Listen, everybody, in 3 days, I'm going to make the biggest announcement in the history of Florida. And then a day later, in 2 days, the greatest announcement, the thing that's going to impact the whole universe, your families will never be the same, is going to happen in 2 days. In 1 day, tomorrow, she made a giant deal about it. And then she announces, I want you all to ignore the investigation that my husband is going through and elect me as the county chairwoman. I mean, it's just nuts. It's nuts. She has like zero respect. They don't have any self-awareness. They have no self-awareness. It reminds me, like on our closeout loop, talking to Clarence. So he said that because the school board, nobody should be ashamed. It's you. You're a damn thief. You're a crook. You should be ashamed. And it's just like, man, they have no self-awareness. They're just like, they're so entitled. This is why I hate the establishment with a passion, because the one thing that I just can't stand about other countries is that they have a monarchy, right? Or a history of monarchical environments where they have a duke, a fiefdom, a prince, whatever they are. And all these elected officials, for some reason, in our country over the last 50 years, have gone from public servant, although they still call themselves a public servant.
Yeah.
But they've gone from public servant to believing that they are part of an aristocracy. Yeah. And it's just not the case. And they all need to be humbled. They all need to be brought down to earth. They all need to be reminded who they serve. And it's not the masters who take them to fancy dinners or anything like that. That's the American family that they serve. And they need to start acting it like it again. And if she had any self-awareness, she wouldn't be running right now. And the guy looks like an absolute fool. He looks like a total idiot. You'll see on May 20th. On May 20th, I'll show you. Oh, I don't like you. That's the difference. It looks like a total joke and a jackass. And I mean, man, I hope that he goes to the judge with that attitude. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, he did not look good in that video, John, at all. It did him no favors. And she did herself no favors at that press conference where she's announcing her run for mayor. I mean, Ashlyn Webb really got to her. It just did not look good. It didn't look good at all.
And then she's like, I'm at the BCC. You're asking me questions at the Board of County Commissioner? Hell yeah, lady. That's exactly where you should be at.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
It's the one place that we designate a time where we can talk to you as our county commissioner.
That's when we know you're going to be there. We know you're going to be there.
That's when you can't hide.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the right place for it. And the fact that she didn't have like class or grace in her, her refusing to answer the questions, it just didn't look good. That's not her best time. She doesn't look like she's ready for it.
No. And I don't know how long the scandal is going to follow her, but it's not going to do her any favors in this run for mayor.
Well, it's another week, and we'll find out what the husband has to,
Yeah, that'll be on the next Florida show. After May 20th, of course. But here is another guy that's suspected of announcing a run for mayor, and that is Orlando City Commissioner Tony Ortiz, who just announced that he is switching from Republican to Democrat. And yes, there he is. That's Mr. Ortiz. And he made the announcement, John, that he is switching parties. Did not say that he is running for mayor of Orange County, but he did say this when he made the switch. I once believed it stood for duty, accountability, individual freedom, and family values, but over time that party has changed, and I can no longer stand by in silence as it turns its back on the very people I've sworn to protect. Now, no one knows what he's alluding to exactly.
I've sworn to protect. You live in Orlando.
Yeah.
I mean, what are you protecting from? The rainbow flag flying off of a pole and wrapping itself around somebody's neck? This guy is such an exaggerator. He's leaving the Republican Party for no other reason than he believes that only a Democrat can be elected as Orlando mayor. That's it. That's why he's switching. Family values, dude. The Democrats are walking down streets with their their junk hanging out in front of kids.
Yep.
You're talking about family values. Do you know how dumb you sound? He's not a bad guy either. I've met him, talked to him multiple times. He's not a bad guy, but this is a really dumb statement. It would be better for him just to leave and say, listen, also, again, show some grace and some self-awareness. I mean, do you really think that people are so dumb that they believe that your values have changed? Your values haven't changed. Your ambition has changed. Your ambition as mayor.
Yeah.
You think that you can only win as a Democrat, so you're switching.
John, if he had said that he did not believe in the leadership of the Republican Party here in Florida, that it had something to do with, the politics up in Tallahassee with the leadership under Evan Power, I would understand that. I would be like, okay, not to switch to Democrat, but, to switch to an independent.
But that's a great reason.
Absolutely.
A great reason.
Absolutely.
Right? That's
but
totally
to say
credible.
You're switching to Democrat because maybe you were a Democrat all along then, you know what I mean? And maybe you're right where you belong. You're right where you belong.
He's not right-leaning necessarily, so he that may be where he belongs to begin with. And but he's a rhino at best, probably. And but certainly that would have been way better for him to acknowledge why he's really leaving, as opposed to some completely idiotic family values. Family values and Democrats is like oil and water. They don't mix.
Yes, that's true, John. That's true. All right. So over in Brevard County, commissioners voted down funding the Pride event over there that's going to be taking place in Melbourne. Listen to this, John.
Brevard County, the annual Space Coast Pride Fest in Melbourne, could be losing some funding.
Brevard County commissioners just rejected a $5,000 grant for that festival. Fox 35's Matt Trezza asked the organizer, will the show still go on?
Commissioner Goodson, it's your item, sir.
Okay. I would like to make a motion for approval of my $20,000.
Brevard County Commissioner Tom Goodson calling on his fellow commissioners to approve funding for local cultural groups, including money for the annual Space Coast Pride Fest, an event supporting the LGBTQ+ community. But no other commissioner would support it.
I have a motion. Is there a second? Sir, would you like to amend your motion?
Nope.
Okay. We'll show that dies from a lack of second then.
Nope. A disappointing move for the Space Coast Pride organization.
But it doesn't stop us. We're going to keep going and serve our community.
Commissioner Katie Delaney explained why she wasn't supporting the vote.
I'm opposed to giving tax dollars to Space Coast Pride. The things that I have seen put out there that go on at this event
is not what I would consider a family-friendly event.
Space Coast Pride says nothing could be further from the truth.
We are absolutely family friendly. We have over 20,000 people join our festival, and that includes a ton of families, including my own. And we even have a kids zone, and that's something we really pride ourselves here in Brevard County to be a safe and family-friendly place.
Commissioner Goodson also spoke out against those who didn't support funding.
You answer this question. Do you have anybody in your family that could be of a different venue? Well, maybe you do, maybe you don't, but you're going to persecute them? And we hear about we the people? We the people? Those are the people.
Whether they get the money or not, Space Coast Pride says their annual festival will go on.
There's also a big main stage of entertainment all day. There's a kids zone. There's, we'll call it Restaurant Row with our food trucks. There's a little bit of everything for everyone to enjoy the day.
This year's event is set for September 27th in downtown Melbourne.
She's mentioned Kid Zone multiple times. This is the thing. They voted down funding for this event. This event is to celebrate your sexuality. Nothing else but your sexuality. Why do you need to have an event to celebrate your sexuality? Why does it have to be so out front and out there? Unless there's an agenda behind it.
Yep. And why? I mean, you have a petting zoo. But do you really need a petting zoo with all these crazy nut jobs servicing the animals sexually? No, that's not the type of petting zoo I would want to take my kid to. So keep your crazy people and your crazy animals and your sexually abused animals out of the way and stay off the public streets. Act normal. Walk down the street like a regular person. I don't care if you dress like a woman. Okay, you're going to dress like a woman, walk down the street. I don't care. I'm not here to judge. But when you start exposing kids to it, then you are going to be judged. When you command tax dollars from all your neighbors and they're like, why am I spending my tax money on this? Then you get judged. So you don't see and I'm not a big fan of this. I'm not a big fan of the city getting involved in these types of things. There's only one thing that the city or some municipality should be getting involved in. National holidays, right? If it's a national holiday, go ahead and celebrate it. If it is a patriotic theme, right? Because it's, all the municipalities belong to the government. So if it's a patriotic theme, okay, go ahead and celebrate it. But if it's anything else, I'm just not a big fan. I mean, it's not that they shouldn't be allowed to do it, but they shouldn't be getting public sponsorship.
Right.
The government should not be promoting it. The government should not be aiding it. It just decide, okay, have you checked all the boxes? Okay, we're going to allow this. But if you caught a man in one of these outfits, like twirling the flag in his underwear, like we just saw in that video, in a room with a kid, and you walked in on that, would you call the cops?
Yeah.
That's the least you would do.
Yeah.
So then why is the city promoting that? It just doesn't make any sense. And that, I don't care about the gay thing, even the trans thing. I don't give a damn.
Yeah.
But don't start impacting kids, talking about kids, being a degenerate in front of a child. That's wrong. And don't ask my taxpayer money for it.
Yeah. And we know the things that they sell at these events, John, the suggestive language that's on T-shirts and flags, the suggestive foods that they sell at these events. It's just not family friendly whatsoever. And
I mean, we've literally seen we've seen kids eating ice cream that was it had a phallic shape to it.
That right there. Yep. And
okay, that's disgusting. And those parents should be thrown in jail.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. But, kudos to that Brevard County Commission for voting down the funding of this event. Contrast that with Osceola County, where Osceola County is dead silent, and we know that Osceola County wouldn't tackle this issue. But some of us,
gay.
Some of us in St. Cloud would think that St. Cloud would tackle this issue.
They're also all gay.
But instead, when some residents went before the St. Cloud City Council to voice their concerns about them funding the St. Cloud Pride event, they were laughed at, basically. Their concerns were dismissed. And first up, we have this video, which is somebody we both know and respect a great deal, who is Pastor Don Gray, who went before the St. Cloud City Council to voice his concerns about them funding and promoting this Pride in the Cloud event.
All right, next up we have Don Gray.
Don Gray, the 409 Florida Avenue. I want to address the gay pride thing that you're doing out at that ranch. I am so thankful to hear Councilman Gilbert talk about being concerned about our taxpayers' dollars. I don't want my taxpayer dollars go to support what has been considered a perverted lifestyle for many years in our country. Now, the one thing that really bothers me more than anything is a petting zoo for children. A lot of people want to know why these, what do they call them? The people that dress like women. Yeah. What their purpose for doing that is. I don't know if anybody here has heard this, but in San Francisco, there's a gay men's choir. And in June of 2017, they wrote this song. But whoever causes one, let me see. You say we all lead lives you don't respect, but just frightened. You think we'll corrupt your kids if our agenda goes unchecked. Funny, just once, you are correct. We'll convert your children, happens bit by bit, quietly and subtly, and you'll even barely notice it. Just like you're worried, they'll change their group of friends. You won't approve where they go at night, and you'll be disgusted when you start learning the things that they're learning online and from their site. We'll convert your children, yes, we will, reaching one and all. There's really no escaping it, because even grandma likes RuPaul. The world is getting kinder. Gen Z's gayer than Grindr. We're coming for them. We're coming for your children. The gay agenda is coming home. The gay agenda is here. Now, you talk about small town living. I don't understand why you want to promote, and we were told by a county councilman that the city council of St. Cloud is promoting this perverted event. I don't want my taxpayers doing that. My taxpayer money have anything to do with that. And I can tell you that the majority of Christians in this community don't want this either. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Don. Your light's on, Deputy Mayor. Are you still
No,
there?
sir. No, sorry. That was from the last comment.
Now, you watch the end of that video, John, and, Mayor Robertson says that Deputy Mayor Sean Fletcher, who happens to be gay himself, had his light on to speak. And, Sean Fletcher said, no, I didn't. And the mayor smiles, very widely and goes about his business. I don't know if he thought that this was funny, that Pastor Don went up there and spoke about this, but obviously they had nothing to say, John.
Yeah, they don't care. They don't care. He doesn't care. This guy sold out quickly. Everybody thought that he was going to be this great mayor who really cared about the city because he said he loved the city and he always talked about how much he cared about St. Cloud and whatever. But, you and I both know he's, there's something about a guy who's almost 50 living with his mom, unmarried. And, I mean,
yeah, I just,
he's a weirdo.
Yeah, it's very disrespectful to Pastor Don, who went up there voicing his concerns. I mean, and there are many people within St. Cloud that have these concerns because, like we just talked about in the last segment, we know that the kind of things that they sell at these events, the kind of things that go on at these events. yeah, many people have concerns, not just the two people that spoke about it at this council meeting. And for them to make light of it and Joe, it's just a really bad look on his part. I don't think that we'd expect any less, though. But yes, Pastor Don wasn't the only person who went up there to speak out against this thing. Another citizen did. He led off his comments speaking about something else, but he ended speaking about this. And again, they kind of made light about it.
Got anybody that thinks men with men and women with women is normal and family friendly, their judgment is skewed, to say the least. And honestly, they have no right to be doing what they're doing. And so what the city of St. Cloud, instead of, in essence, what you're saying is we hate Jesus and we love Satan by supporting this. What you ought to be doing is telling this group, you're not welcome here. Get out and don't come back. Thank you.
All right, thank you, sir. City manager.
I just wanted to clarify that the city of St. Cloud does not determine who can and cannot be in the Christmas parade. That's done by the St. Cloud Chamber. Thank you.
It's been an interesting meeting, Mayor.
Who was the one that said that?
Sean Fletcher.
So it's an interesting meeting. Why would he say that? What the heck does that mean? I mean, it's an interesting meeting. You have St. Cloud, the difference from St. Cloud and Kissimmee or other municipalities was that there was a point where the people ran for city council that cared about the city, like they cared about the city. This is our city. That was a part of their identity that was important to them. And that meant a lot. And it just doesn't anymore. Now it belongs to the developer. All these guys. And this is, I think Chuck Cooper might have been like the last guy that cared about the city more than he cared about the interests of developers.
Absolutely.
And you have like, what's the young guy's name? It escapes me.
On the council, Colby Urban.
Yeah, Colby Urban. So, I mean, come on. He's a developer guy. That's straight up. Fletcher, I don't know what his angle is really. I would say, but I can't really say that I know what his angle is. Gilbert, he's just there to answer to the same dirtbag establishment of Osceola and St. Cloud. That's he just answers to them, is my opinion. Nice enough guy. I don't know, but bottom line is he just does what he's told, is the feeling that I get. Robertson is a guy that's made up of 2% water and 98% ambition. And it's just, there's not a lot of value there, in my opinion. I think that he's a liar. I could explain that, but he's a liar. He's a deceiver. He's an absolute egomaniac. He has these visions of grandeur about himself, and maybe he only cares about St. Cloud and nowhere else, but he's got a very disgusting and unhealthy view of himself and his role and connection to the city. He thinks that he's gonna, he sees himself as Jesus Christ of St. Cloud. That's how he sees himself, and it's just offensive, and he doesn't even know it, and it's a joke. And the only reason I'm going so hard on them is because, listen, when the citizens come to you and they tell you something that they have a concern and you don't give a damn, and that's obvious, it's just bothersome.
Yeah. I mean, John, we're supposed to have 3 supposed Republicans on that city council. 3 of those men are registered Republicans on that city council. Not one of them.
Also supposedly Christians is the part that kills me.
Yeah, I mean, one of them, Ken Gilbert, is supposedly a pastor himself who runs a ministry, a Place for Grace Ministries, and he had nothing to say. And you talked about Ken Gilbert. There's a lot of things I know about Ken Gilbert that I never even spoke about that I probably should have when I was running against him. But I'll just say this: I learned even more things about Ken Gilbert being part of one of the committees in the city of St. Cloud when we were approving grant money, and this man tried to fleece the city for $30,000 of small business grant money. And that's no lie. That is absolute fact. and he was trying to fleece them for $30,000 of grant money. That's who Ken Gilbert is. Colby Urban, nice enough guy. I don't have any issue with him. And Sean Fletcher was doing a great job as a councilman as far as I was concerned up until this point. And I know how this could hit home for him. That would bother him a little bit. But know that this event bothers us the same way. That this event and what goes on at these events bothers us the same way, especially when it's exposing it to kids. Yeah, I had told multiple people that I would have had no problem with this event. I wouldn't even concern myself about this event until they said that they had a petting zoo for kids and a kids zone at this event. That's when it was.
The issue.
That's the issue.
Yeah.
That's the issue.
Don't pretend that it's kid friendly. Don't pretend that it's kid friendly. And you know what? Don't make me participate by paying for it. That's it. You know, that's the bottom line. So I don't want to pay for it, and don't invite kids. Don't trigger the instinct to protect. That's it. Don't trigger the instinct to protect kids.
Yeah. And John, it's not just the city of St. Cloud, though. Let's be fair. Sure. It is Toho Water Authority. It is also Osceola County. They are sponsoring this thing. So it is all of them. It's all of them. But the attention went to the city of St. Cloud because I feel that the majority of citizens, and especially the two citizens that went and spoke out against this thing, thought that we had some council members who would listen, who would care. And obviously they saw different. You know, they didn't see that. They didn't get to see that. But all right.
You know what would be great if every single person in St. Cloud did stop paying their water? Just en masse. Every person in St. Cloud stop paying their water. Wouldn't that be awesome?
No.
You know, like a campaign. Hey, on this day, we're all going to stop paying our water. Do not pay your water from this point on if they don't change. I mean, that would speak pretty loudly, I think.
Well, speaking of the water, and, you know, before we move on to that, though, Jennifer Paul, by the way, everyone is praising her so much. Jennifer Paul is the vice chair of the Osceola County Democratic Party. So if you did not know that, now you know. And you know why I've said a few things and why I called her out on something, because people were coming after me a little bit because I called her out on these Tesla takedowns and said I want her to speak out against it. And she did. I'll give her credit. She put out a statement saying that she did not support that. Good for her. But she is the vice chair of the Osceola County Democratic Party. And so I would expect
she said that she didn't support it. That's good. That's good, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I didn't even know it. I didn't know it. One of her defenders brought it to my attention. And and I saw it. And I said, good for her.
She released it in an email to herself. Because God forbid you let the Democrats know that you don't support it. But hey, you Democrats, there you go.
She released it, I guess, on her personal Facebook page or whatever. Yeah. So, and then somebody brought that to my attention, and I said, good for her. You know, I'm not gonna, you know, continue to go after you if you have, you know, done the right thing. You know what I mean? If you do the right thing, yeah, of course. I'm gonna leave you alone. But anyway, let's keep it in St. Cloud, John, because this has been the talk of the town, John. The talk of the town is these new St. Cloud fees that they are imposing on residents, whether it be the boat ramps or at the pool. The city of St. Cloud has found a way to nickel and dime the residents. And I feel like I know why. But anyway, here's a clip of a citizen who came to speak out against this, but he didn't know they had already voted on it.
Florida. Are y'all proposing a fee to use the ramp for the citizens?
That's not what this is.
Is that not being discussed tonight at all?
This is for watercraft rental businesses.
I believe the fee was included in the fee schedule that was on the consent agenda.
Okay. Yes, that was.
How does
that
he vote
was
on a consent agenda item and not know that it was on there? The guy's not even reading the consent agenda. This is the worst public
Letter A.
official. You're not even reading. You don't even know what's on the
that was
consent
pulled on the
agenda.
consent
That's
agenda.
crazy.
You had written ordinance number 9, item 9 on here, Scott. That's why.
Well,
When you'd asked to speak about that.
and he certainly
Yeah.
probably can comment on it.
Oh, yeah, I'm definitely a comment. We did vote on it on the consent, but I'll definitely let you comment.
So it was already passed?
It was on the consent agenda at the very beginning of the meeting. Yes, sir.
Yeah, but he didn't get a chance. He did have a chance to speak about it, but it was irrelevant at that point because they had already passed it, and they passed it in consent, which means they passed it with a whole bunch of other things all lumped together. They have one vote, and it all goes through. So this boat fee went through, and the city's been trying to defend themselves on this quite a bit. This was their post. You can see it was on their Facebook page. 228 reactions, 425 comments, 97 shares. People
And look
were
what
not
the top
happy.
one is angry face.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And this is what they say to help manage boat trailer parking at Lakefront Park and Chisholm Park boat ramps. We are implementing paid parking for all vehicles with trailers in the parking lots and overflow lots at the boat ramps effective Friday, May 23rd. We have structured these fees to be affordable for our residents and will offer either daily parking or an annual pass. This was from Parks and Rec Director Stephanie Holtkamp. Proceeds from the fees will go toward the cost of maintaining our boat ramps and lakefront areas. Residents of St. Cloud and Osceola County may choose to purchase an annual parking pass for $35. Annual passes good for the calendar year are $35 for city residents and $150 for county residents. From now through December 31st, city residents can get an annual pass at no cost. Annual passes expire December 31st each year. Those who live outside Osceola County are not eligible to purchase an annual pass. Daily parking will be $6 per day, payable via the Passport Parking app. Signs at the boat ramps will guide users on paying via the app or the Passport Parking website. Fines for failure to pay for vehicles with trailers parking is $35. And this is upset quite a few people, John. Quite a few people. I didn't want to go ahead with that one, but yes, it's not only that, John. It's also the pool, the public pool, the St. Cloud pool. Used to be very low cost for residents to use, like $5. You pay $5, you go there if you're a city resident. But this was posted. Just visited Chris Lyle Aquatic Center. I looked at the website 2 days ago and budgeted the $70 for a 3-month family pass. Today I brought my kids and was told yesterday morning that the price went up. It is now $180. Buyer beware, or you will have a crying, disappointed kids in your car. And that's sad, to say that. But yes, this is the example of the nickel and diming that the city of St. Cloud is doing. And yes, I went and looked myself. Yes, it's true. There it is. You can see the prices. Family pool pass for the year, $225 to $325 for county residents. Yikes. So that means if you live in 34771, which is considered St. Cloud, it's within the JPA, but it's not technically St. Cloud. It's technically Osceola County. 34772, you're going to pay that $325, or if it's the boat ramps, you're going to pay $150. It's just crazy. It's just crazy. And you can see examples of the things that people are saying. And Mayor Chris Robertson is the one who's taking the brunt on this.
So what are they saying?
This guy here, he says, Chris Robertson, since you became mayor, everything has started getting nickeled and dimed. Didn't you campaign on stopping this nonsense? Somebody else says promises made, promises broken, pay up. And this guy says people in this group were praising him like he was going to be Jesus Christ 2.0 for the city. You know, and then the guy he was
Well,
running
that's what
against,
he was selling.
yeah,
That's
and
what
then,
he was selling. He was selling being Jesus Christ.
you know, a lot of people believed that he was the answer, especially the antithesis to Nathan Blackwell. And then he goes and appoints Nathan Blackwell to the OUC board as the citizen representative. That was one of his first actions. You know what I mean? Was to support this man he supposedly hated. And then, you know, even Tony Busby, the guy he ran against this past election for the mayor, he said they think that they are the Florida Keys, can't support business, so let's nickel and dime the residents to death. It's crap like this that remind me elections have consequences. You don't want businesses, buckle up, Buttercup. Get ready to pay for every little thing the city can charge you for. And it's looking that way, John. It really is looking that way. I can't disagree with that sentiment.
No, I mean, this was bound. I mean, listen, this is where I always like feel like partly responsible when you don't tell people what you know about people, right? And it's kind of like you're trying to do the right thing, and you don't want to just cause chaos for no reason, and you have a lot going on or for whatever reason, you know. But here's the thing. I think that he sold a bill of goods that had zero chance of being what he was promising, or zero intention of being what he was promising. And we knew it. You and I knew it at the very beginning.
No.
And I don't know. We knew this is not surprising to us. It's surprising to a lot of people, but you know, he's out for himself, and he sold out, and he wasn't going to be a warrior for the people of St. Cloud's, bottom line.
Yeah.
And he's not going to be a warrior for the people of St. Cloud unless the people of St. Cloud come out, call him out, and force him and put pressure on him to do that. He's not going to do it because he's got other things, you know. Listen, this is a guy who doesn't have a career, right? He essentially confused and manipulated the situation to end up with that, with the museum, right? And other than that, he checks in mail all day. So
and that was handed to him from his parents. So I mean,
yeah. So this is not somebody who has a career. He's certainly not qualified to be mayor by any stretch of the imagination. Somebody was telling me that he had lied about being a licensed realtor, and was doing work on behalf of the city as an unlicensed realtor, and that's why he got fired.
Well, yeah, that's what I heard too.
Yeah, I don't know if that's true or not, but so the point is, this is not somebody who's super developed, and you thought that he was going to be some great guy. This is his only. This is how he butters his bread. He has nothing else.
No.
You know, he'll be nothing if not for this. And in St. Cloud, everybody knows it, right? Just like the former superintendent, she hired everybody that she graduated from high school with. That's exactly what this is about. Chris Robertson was like a kid that everybody knew, and people in St. Cloud were like, yeah, let's get this kid in that we know. And they still think of him as a kid because of his stature and because, you know, he still lives at home.
No.
So people think of him as a kid, even though he's not. He's a middle-aged man. And but he gets away with things the way a kid would.
You know, I was hoping that he would be different as the mayor, that things would be different for him. I know when he was running for election, he was starting to be very nice to me after we had our falling out, which I'm not going to talk about here. You know, I'm not going to talk about that. But, you know, he was trying to be very nice to me. He was, you know, but then after he got elected, he showed me once again who he was. And, you know, I was hopeful. I was hopeful that he would do right by the citizens in every instance that he would get to do something for the citizens, because he has done that before. He has done a few good things for citizens. I'm not going to say that he hasn't, but right here from the get-go. And I suspect that the reason why they're nickel and diming everyone is because they know what they did, which is they sold off the water to Toho. That was the only money maker the city had was that water utility. And Chris Robertson supported that, you know, before he didn't support it.
Yep.
So, he didn't support it. And then all of a sudden he did right before they got that vote, and they got that vote from Colby Urban to sell off the water, and they sold off the water. And I say they sold off the water because they actually leased the water to Toho for a term of 20 years or something like that. But it's a deal that the city,
but they'll never get it back.
It's a deal that the city can never get out of. The amount of money plus interest that they have to pay back to Toho to get it back, they can never get that money. They'll never be able to get it back. So it's a done deal. Now they don't have that moneymaker. The moneymaker is gone. And now they're looking for different ways to create revenue, like the ranch, the former Hastings Ranch. When they bought that thing, they told the citizens that was going to be a public park. Nope. Mm-hmm. Now it's an event venue. They have a separate little piece that they've made a public park because people were talking about that, like myself and you, John, that they turned this into an event venue that they charge big dollars to use. They made a little tiny strip of it a public park, I guess, or a place where people can go. But yes, they turned this into an event venue. Now they're looking at different things. They have the seaplane pipe dream that they have that's going to be on the way. It's coming sooner or later. Now they're looking at, these parking fees, boat fees, higher fees at the pool. Before you know it, you'll see parking meters, you'll see other things. And this P3 parking garage that they're going to build downtown in downtown St. Cloud, next to City Hall, believe me when I tell you, there's going to be fees to park there too. They said it was originally going to be free public parking, but not the way it's looking right now. I seriously doubt that that's going to be the case. We'll have to see. They might decide to make it free for a little while, just to offset things that I've said here, but they're looking for every way that they can to generate revenue, and that includes annexing more and more areas into the city of St. Cloud so they can get that ad valorem tax money.
Yeah, this is I don't know, bad things for St. Cloud, and if you thought, now it was already going bad. In his defense, St. Cloud was already going bad. The pastor mayor that they had before, Nathan Blackwell, was a disaster of a mayor who was fully in the pocket of Fred Hawkins. He wouldn't even get out of the pocket, and other establishment people were, he wouldn't even get out. He had to be taken out of Fred's pocket to go deliver his sermons on Sunday, and then from there to go to the city council meetings. And now you have this guy, and this guy, I'm afraid to say, is basically keeping the pocket warm, in my opinion.
Wow. No, I mean, it looks that way. It looks that way, John. And we'll have to see where this goes from here. I mean, the citizens being upset about these fees hasn't changed the mind of these council members. So
yeah,
I don't think it's going to. All right, so let's move on. This is an interesting story that just happened recently. Substitute teacher arrested for child abuse. Very interesting story, John. Normally we wouldn't just talk about this, just a random story about a substitute teacher being arrested for child abuse here in Osceola County. But let's watch this video. Let's watch this.
First tonight in Osceola County, a substitute teacher is now in jail. Good evening. Thank you for joining us. I'm Jesse Pagat.
And I'm Michelle Imperato. This all centers around how he disciplined a student in his classroom. West 2's Haley Crumbleholm has what we know about this case.
The incident allegedly happened at Neptune Elementary School in St. Cloud, and the police have identified this man involved as a long-term substitute. They accuse the man of grabbing a student by his collar and throwing him into a wall as punishment. On April 30th, the Department of Children and Families and ultimately the St. Cloud Police Department got the call. 71-year-old Casmore Shaw was accused of assaulting a student in the classroom, all over some spilled crayons. According to the arrest report, the boy said he knocked something off his desk, picked it up, and then knocked over a box of crayons in the process. That's when he alleges Shaw came up to his desk and grabbed the front of his shirt with such force that a button popped off. He said Shaw threw him into the wall so he could go into timeout, and alleged Shaw put his finger on his nose and said, "This will end, boy." According to the report, the altercation left the boy with scratches and bruising. We went to Shaw's neighborhood and spoke with a woman who identified herself as his wife. She didn't want to talk to us on camera, but said she was shocked and had limited information. We talked to one of their neighbors who didn't know Shaw, but he has a kid in elementary school himself. He said if he were in that Neptune Elementary parents' shoes,
I called the police right away. That's crazy. I never heard something like that in this area.
according to the arrest report, when Shaw was told about the marks on the boy, he acknowledged grabbing him, but insisted he was not angry during the incident and said he was aware of the boy's behavioral issues and did not intend to cause harm. The school district said Shaw started with the district in January of 2023 and hasn't had any prior disciplinary issues. They said in a statement that the substitute was immediately removed from the school when the incident happened, and the allegation was investigated by law enforcement. They said the individual is no longer employed by the district. Our focus will be on supporting the student. Covering Osceola County, Haley Crumpleholm, West.
All right. So, yes, Channel 2 did do a video about this. They did talk about this. And, you know,
sure left something out.
They left out quite a few details, though, John. They left out quite a few details about Casmore Shaw. They didn't do their homework, obviously, but we'll give kudos to those who did. And that's Ken Jackson at the Osceola News-Gazette. And we don't normally give kudos to the Osceola News-Gazette, but we will on this one because he did put in some of the details that were missing from Channel 2's report. Here they are. Shaw was a candidate for school board back in 2020, losing to John Arguello. He is state committeeman for the Osceola Democratic Party and is listed as secretary of the Osceola County Democratic Black Caucus. Stephen Wells, chair of the Osceola County Democrat Party, that loathsome character, released this statement on Monday evening. We are aware of a situation with one of our state committee members following an incident today. As of this moment, they will be suspended from official duties pending further investigation. We will be conferring on further action. And I doubt that they're going to remove him as state committeeman to the Democrat Party. But we'll see. We'll see. But Ken did miss one other detail in his write-up, too, about Casmore Shaw. Yes, you did defeat him in 2020 for your school board race. And yes, he is state committeeman for the Democrat Party of Osceola County. But he's also a board member of the Education Foundation here in Osceola County. Now, you won't find this anymore if you go to their website. If you go to the Education Foundation website, they were very quick to take down Casmore Shaw's profile from their board of directors page. But yes, he was there prior to his arrest. And yes, he was a member of their board. And if you look at their board, you will see many other familiar faces. And this is a board that was founded by Tommy Tompkins, a big-time developer. And I guess that's all I'll say. He's a private citizen, so I'll leave him alone. But he is a big-time developer, and yeah.
Yeah, he's a developer, and he makes contributions to every single
establishment candidate that's out there.
Candidate, right? And you know,
he's the big funder.
Mm-hmm. So when you see his name on a list, it's a signal. And if you want to know what that signal is, just look at all the other county commissioners, and basically it means exactly that.
Now,
so absolutely, this guy, Casmore Shaw, wow. You know, here's the thing. He's not a bad guy. He's obviously does not have the patience to be in the classroom. This was this was shocking that it was
This is elementary school, John.
Elementary. These kids are not that annoying yet. Okay, you're not even in middle school yet. In middle school is when they've lost total control over themselves. This is an elementary, so I really have, I mean, come on, I have no sympathy or no empathy for this. Putting your hands on a student like that, it's crazy. Yes, I did defeat him in 2020, and it's funny that there's one guy who gets arrested for putting his hands on a student, slamming him against a wall or whatever it was described in that news story. And then there's the other guy, Victor Cruz, who was accused of stealing money from his HOA in order for his campaign. So he raised barely any money. Whatever money he did raise, he apparently took from his HOA, according to the people who were accusing him. And now there's other people accusing him in another HOA, wherever he goes. And it's, hey, listen, this is the bar for the Democrats. If you're not a crook, don't run as a Democrat because you won't get along with anybody.
No.
So that's apparently, I mean, just look, Brandon Arrington, Kristen Arrington, all the other
Mary Jane Arrington.
So Mary Jane Arrington. Yeah. So, I mean, they're all crooks.
Yeah.
And it's a joke.
Yeah.
And, I mean, and he was also had a post at the state party. He was somebody. He was something at the state party also. So this is your party leadership.
Yeah. And I hope that Stephen Wells and Jennifer Paul take action and remove Casmore Shaw from state committeeman status. You can't have a state committeeman that committed child abuse here.
Why not?
Obviously, allegedly committed child abuse.
Allegedly, yes. But
Yeah.
why? Why not? They like people who abuse kids. They like people who chemically castrate kids. They like people who mutilate the genitals of children.
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah,
They protect people who shoot people in the middle of the street. They protect the pedophiles who are being arrested and deported. Why not?
Yeah.
This is the perfect Democrat.
That's why I said I seriously doubt they'll do anything to him. You know what I mean? Right now they suspended him, but then when this blows over, they'll bring him back in. Yeah.
Yeah, but you were saying that we can't have that, but that's
No,
exactly
we can't.
what they like.
We shouldn't.
That's what they like.
Yeah, they do like that, but they shouldn't. They shouldn't. And we shouldn't have people representing any party. It's like I said when Christian Ziegler went down. I did not support that. I don't care. You know what I mean? Obviously he was allegedly committed something against this woman. I guess they threw it out or whatever, but it was just dirty, it was ugly, and it has no place. Just like this whole thing with this guy. It's dirty, it's ugly, it's sad, and poor kid. And
poor kid. I mean, it's going to be rich parents and rich kid though after the lawsuit.
Yeah. Then we'll have the school board begging for more money.
They're going to try to raise the taxes.
No.
And it's guaranteed they'll lose the case with that moron of a lawyer that they have. Osceola County has Listen, let me give some advice to all you parents out there, especially the ones in Osceola County. If you have a child in Osceola County schools, the best thing that you can do is sue the district because their lawyer is such a moron that there's nothing that she'll be. She couldn't win a one-person race. So.
Oh man, if Governor DeSantis does pass this property tax thing, well, he wouldn't pass it if it goes on the ballot and the citizens vote for it, right? And they get rid of property taxes. You're definitely going to see Osceola County try and raise taxes. You're going to see that penny sales tax and more. Believe that.
Yeah, because how are they going to buy land from their friends, for all their corrupt friends, and from lobbyists to do all kinds of different projects?
Yeah.
So. Right now, it's the Osceola citizen that's paying for all this development. Look at Neo City, for example. What happened? They build they buy the land, they do whatever they're going to do, and then they sell land to the school district immediately, and the school district pays the money so that they can continue building the land.
Yeah.
It's an infusion of cash. It's a Ponzi scheme.
Yeah, absolutely, and they die for that money. I mean, they want that money. But by the way, one story that didn't make it into the show, and because it's really just, but I want to bring it up, John, was that they postponed the Pulse Memorial, the unveiling or the big.
This story is so outrageous. We did talk about it We did talk about it. It's
Yeah,
gonna
we
come
talked a
to
little bit about it.
citizens. You need to reach out to the county commission and explain to them how upset you are that they're spending $250,000 of our money to erect a 50-foot tall statue celebrating the homosexuality of one of their county commissioners.
Yeah.
And maybe two, because I don't know about Ricky Booth. If you've ever met him, you got a question. So this is our taxpayer money to basically celebrate. And the worst part, if that's not bad enough, they're using a Jesus fish and slapping Christians in the face, a rainbow fish. I mean, it's really horrendous.
Well, you know, the sad part is, John, they've already paid the artist, Jeffrey. They already paid him to do this. They've already constructed it. It's basically done. They just want to have this big unveiling. They want to have this big to-do about it.
And there needs to be a protest. There needs to be a protest when it is unveiled, which is in October.
They need to postpone this thing forever. That's what they should do. All right, John. So let's move on from this. City of Kissimmee. Oh, man. I don't know what's going on in the city of Kissimmee, but
well, I mean, listen, we're running long on time. People are shooting. Everybody's getting shot in Kissimmee. You know, it's something that they need to handle. I hope this new police chief gets it done. I mean, come on, we can't have any people. And it's not about bars being downtown. Downtown Kissimmee Street. There's down there. You got to have there, and that's pretty much it. You know, it's incredible.
And this keeps, you know, it's this other downtown shooting that happened. It's calling for changes on nightlife, and this happened last Tuesday morning. They said this argument that started at Breeze Bar on East Dakin spilled onto the streets and led to a shooting in the Sunrail parking lot. Unbelievable. But the Kissimmee City Commission talked about this at their council meeting. Mayor Jackie Espinosa asked city staff to draft an ordinance that would prioritize public safety in response to the shooting. One shooting is too many, she said. Safety means people before any amount of profit.
One shooting is too many, but the 40 shootings they have every month, apparently, what is that? What does that equate? They need, I mean, this isn't about, why haven't they been doing anything? Here's the thing. Normally, in comparison to the other municipal bodies, because the city of Kissimmee is pretty squared away. They need to square this away now, and especially with Jackie at the helm. They need to make it happen.
Yeah. And I have faith. I have faith that she probably will. I mean, we'll see. But, you know, it's like we've been talking about. We talked about this at the top of the show. The city of Kissimmee seems to be getting worse and worse and worse and worse. And it's leaking into the city of St. Cloud. And it has been for a long time. And it's just going to continue.
I don't know that it's leaking as opposed to it's generating. That's what the city of St. Cloud is attracting, right? Instead of rebuffing, like they should have built a wall, right? Like, they should have prepared for it. They, use their own ordinance. Instead, they had a city council that became professional grifters, and they lost the city, and they don't care because they're selling all their land and they're moving on.
No, absolutely. All right, John. Well, that's all we have time for tonight. And yes, we did run long tonight. It was another super packed Florida show, 2 hours. Yeah.
All right. Well, listen, we won't keep you any longer then. We love you. Thank you for watching. We had a great number of people watching across all social medias. Please like and share the show. That's super helpful to us. So please like and share the show. We've been getting notifications that we're being unshadow banned, essentially, little by little, so our reach will go further and further and further. So please do us the favor of liking and sharing the show. God bless you. We'll see you next week for Unsanctioned America.
Absolutely.
Well, I mean, I was entertained, to be honest.
I think it is rich beyond measure. The fact that a school board member that has tens of millions of dollars of conflict of interest before this board has the courage to come up here and talk about anyone's behavior, if anyone should be ashamed of themselves, sir, it should be you. And I'm in favor of you being able to speak your mind, no matter what. That's how we get, remember when we were kids, right? And you had a problem with somebody, and then your dad would kick you out to go fight with that kid, and then you shake hands, and then you go home, and then you become friends with disgust when they're trying to, take this word and give it meaning that it doesn't have. Our entire country needs to go through a fasting. You see all of these new age hippies, right? They're constantly fasting. They're doing starvation diets, or they won't eat for this. What is it called? Like some kind of
intermittent fasting.
intermittent.
It's not just us, and not just fans of President Trump, MAGA Republicans. We're not the only ones